just returned from Bangkok, where we had a 2-week intersessional negotiating session of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change in the last week of September and first week of October. This was a meeting of the negotiating officials, technical level officials, to try and reduce the negotiating text for December in Copenhagen, which now runs to over 200 pages, which is far too long for the leaders to agree in Copenhagen. It needs to be brought down to a manageable size of about 50 or 60 pages altogether. The news was reasonably good on a number of fronts because they negotiated the different tracks in the negotiation text and looked at different sections and made good progress on several of the sections, particularly the sections on adaptation, technology transfer, reducing emissions from deforestation, and on capacity building. They made very little progress, however, on the finance section and on the mitigation section, which are two of the main stumbling blocks, which will require a much higher level of political engagement from the developed countries in particular. And we are hoping that we may have some movement by the next meeting, which will be in the first week of November in Barcelona, before which there will be two important meetings of finance ministers from the developed countries. Firstly, the European finance ministers meet in late October, and then the G20 finance ministers meet in the beginning of November in Edinburgh. And from those two meetings, we expect that they will be able to put some money on the table, which will be able to unlock the finance section of the negotiating text before we reach Copenhagen, and it's important that we do that before Copenhagen. And that will leave the major issue of mitigation targets from the Annex I rich countries and also mitigation actions from the large developing countries like China, India, and Brazil to be resolved in Copenhagen. However, on that front, there was a little bit of good news in Bangkok. A number of countries, including Indonesia, Norway, put forward some very good proposals, much more ambitious targets. Norway put a target of 40% reductions compared to 1990 levels, and Indonesia also put a very ambitious target on the table. So countries are moving in the right direction on that front, but they need to move a lot faster, and we hope that by Copenhagen we will all achieve a 40% reduction target, which is what we all want to get.